Hello class, today we're going to look at section 10.2, multiplying polynomials. Our learning target today is we're going to be multiplying polynomials. Two main things we'll be doing is we'll be multiplying a binomial times a binomial, and then we'll also be multiplying a binomial by a trinomial. We're going to start with a binomial multiplied by a binomial though. Now, we're going to use the distributive property to multiply these polynomials together, but a very special form of that is called the FOIL method. FOIL. We use the FOIL method when we multiply two binomials together. FOIL stands for this. The F stands for first, the O stands for outside, the I stands for inside, and the L last. First, outside, inside, last. It's a special pattern that we can use when multiplying two binomials together. And just a quick reminder, a binomial means that we have two terms. So x and 3, all right? We have two terms, it's a binomial. A good way to remember this is how many wheels does a bicycle have? 2. So a binomial has two terms. And of course it can be, other variables as well. Let's say it's 3y minus 7z. All right? Regardless, if we have two terms, it's a binomial. Let's start by multiplying some binomials together. Now, what we're going to do here, for the first two examples, we're going to multiply x minus 5 by x plus 7. Binomial times binomial. And if you see, we're going to do the same thing in example 2. But we're going to do it using two different methods. Now, hopefully this will show you that, if we use the distributive property, it works, but if we use FOIL, it's a little bit more efficient. All right, so FOIL is typically the better way to go. But let's do both ways. Let's start with just plain old distributive property. So here's what we're going to do. We need to multiply x minus 5 by x plus 7. We're going to start by taking our first term in our first binomial, x, and we're going to multiply it by every term in the second binomial. So x plus 7. So we're going to multiply x by x plus 7. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take the second term in our first binomial, negative 5, and we're going to multiply it by the whole second binomial. So we're going to take that negative 5, and we're going to multiply it by x plus 7. Let's do that. So hopefully you remember, when I multiply something by a binomial like this, I need to distribute it to both terms. So we need to do x times x plus x times 7 plus negative 5 times x plus negative 5 times 7. We're almost running out of room. So we distribute that x to the x and the 7, and then we distribute that negative 5 to the x and the 7. Let's go ahead and multiply those out. X times x is x squared, plus x times 7 is 7x, plus negative 5 times x is negative 5x, plus negative 5 times 7 is negative 35. And now we need to do the same thing that we did in section 10.1. We need to combine like terms. So x squared combines with nothing else, because if you remember, in order to combine terms, we need to have the same variable, which we do, but it has to be raised to the same power. So x squared cannot be combined with 7x or negative 5x. We can combine 7x and negative 5x, though, to give us 2x, and negative 35 can't be combined with anything. So our final answer is x squared plus 2x minus 35. So that's using the distributive property. Now let's go ahead and use the FOIL method. Now, FOIL method is still a distributive property, don't get me wrong, but it organizes it a little better for us. Let's do it. So, using the distributive property. Oh Oh, just kidding, use a different problem. Here's what we do. So again, FOIL. F stands for first. All right? So what that means is we are going to multiply the first terms together. So x and 7x. X times 7x is 7x squared. Then we go to the O, outside. Outside. For the outside, we multiply the outside numbers together. So x times 1. X times 1 is just x. I stands for inside. For inside, we multiply the two inside numbers together. So we do -5 times 7x. -5 times 7x is -35x. And L stands for last. So we multiply the last numbers together. So -5 times 1, which gives us -5. So first, outside, inside, last. First, outside, inside, last. FOIL method. From there, we just combine like terms. So 7x squared combines with nothing else. X minus 35x is -34x. And -5 combined with nothing else leaves us with simply -5. So our final answer is 7x squared minus 34x minus 5. So what we did here is we multiplied two binomials using two different methods here. All right? And as you can see, FOIL can be a little bit more efficient, a little shorter. It's a good way to help us organize what we're doing. Let's do a couple more examples. Now, we're going to do both of these, but we're going to do the FOIL method for both of these. So let's go ahead and write that out again. And you should memorize this, by the way. FOIL. First, outside, inside, last. First, outside, inside, last. Let's do it. So let's multiply two binomials, and again, FOIL method only works if we're multiplying two binomials. So here I have a binomial multiplied by a binomial, so therefore I can use that FOIL method. Let's do it. First, x times x gives me x squared. Outside, x times -5 gives me -5x. Inside, 2 times x gives me 2x. And last, 2 times -5 gives me -10. Then we combine like terms if we can. In this case, we can combine the -5x and the 2x, which gives us a -3x. So our final answer is x squared minus 3x minus 10. Let's do checkpoint number 2. Binomial multiplied by a binomial, so therefore I can use the FOIL method. First, 3x times 2x gives me 6x squared. Outside, 3x times -3 gives me -9x. Inside, -1 times 2x gives me -2x. And last, -1 times -3 gives me a +3. We can combine the -9x and the -2x to give us 6x squared minus 11x plus 3. And that is the FOIL method. Now, I need you able to do the FOIL method quickly and accurately. Later on in the chapter, what we're going to be doing is called factoring. And what factoring is basically the opposite of the FOIL method. we'll be taking polynomials that look like this and factoring it to look like this. All right? And we can check our answer if we're good at the FOIL method. We can just check to make sure it works. So make sure you practice the FOIL method. Like I said, we need to be able to do it quickly and accurately. Let's move on. So next, what we're going to do is we are going to multiply. In this case, we have a binomial, and we're going to multiply it by a trinomial. Now again, that FOIL method only works if we're multiplying a binomial by a binomial. All right? So in this case, when we're multiplying a binomial by a trinomial, we can't use the FOIL method. What we're going to use instead is just the distributive property, basically. Now, I'm going to show you two ways. We have the vertical way, all right? Then we're going to do another example where we do the horizontal way. And we'll show you what both of those look like. Let's start with the vertical. So, if we're going to multiply vertically, it's good to put both of our functions in standard form, meaning we put our variables in descending order. Our exponents go in descending order. So I'm going to rewrite this as x squared minus 11x plus 8. Okay? If you look, the x squared is positive, the 11x is negative, and the 8 is positive. And we just wrote it in descending order. Then we're going to put our binomial below that, and again, we're going to write that in standard form as well. So I'm going to write the x first. So again, the x is negative in this case, and the 4 is positive. Now here's what we're going to do. Just like you may have multiplied numbers in the past. We're going to take the 4, and we're going to multiply it by everything. So let's do that. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times negative 11x is negative 44x. And 4 times x squared is 4x squared. So if I multiply 4 by x squared minus 11x plus 8, I end up with 4x squared minus 44x plus 32. Now what we need to do is we need to take that negative x and we need to multiply it by everything. So, negative x times 8 is negative 8x, and notice that I put it underneath my existing x term there. Okay, it helps to line them up. It'll help when we're combining like terms later. Negative x times negative 11x is positive 11x squared, and again, I put it underneath my other x squared. And negative x times x squared is negative x cubed. All right? So if I multiply negative x times x squared minus 11x plus 8, I end up with negative x cubed plus 11x squared minus 8x. Now all I need to do is combine like terms. And if you were careful to put like terms above one another, okay, just like we added vertically in 10-1, you can just add straight down. So, nothing plus negative x cubed is negative x cubed. 4x squared plus 11x squared is 15x squared. Negative 44x minus 8x is negative 52x. And 32 plus nothing else is 32. So my final answer should be negative x cubed plus 15x squared minus 52x plus 32. That would be how we multiply vertically. We can also do this horizontally. Let me show you what that looks like. And this is the way I typically do it. When I have to do a problem like this, I prefer to do it horizontally, just like I like adding horizontally. I don't know, maybe it's just how my brain works. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our 2x cubed minus 9x squared minus 11x. Okay? Let's actually do 3 different colors there. We're going to multiply that by 2 minus x squared. Here's how we do it. take your first term and multiply it by everything in the second grouping. So we're going to take the first term of our trinomial and multiply it by everything in the binomial. So that means I'm going to do 2x cubed and multiply that by 2 minus x squared. Next, take your next term in your trinomial and multiply it by everything in your binomial. So that means we're going to take our negative 9x squared and multiply it by 2 minus x squared. And then we take we take our negative 11x and we multiply that again by everything in the binomial. So we'll have negative 11x multiplied by 2 minus x squared. So we take each piece in the first grouping and multiply it by everything in the second grouping. And now it's just a matter of distributing and simplifying. Let's go ahead and do that. 2x cubed times 2 is 4x cubed. 2x cubed times negative x squared is negative 2x to the fifth. Negative 9x squared times 2 is a negative 18x squared. Negative 9x squared times negative x squared is a positive 9x to the fourth. Negative 11x times 2 is negative 22x. And negative 11x times negative x squared is a positive 11x cubed. So where did we get each piece? These two terms came from here. These two terms came from here. And these two terms came from here. Hopefully those different colors are showing up in the video well. Now what we're going to do is we're going to group like terms. So let's start with our so just like we did in 10-1, okay? We're going to start with our biggest exponent. Looks like our biggest exponent is that 5. And there's no other term that has x to the fifth, so we're going to have just negative 2x to the fifth, plus. Now let's go to our next biggest exponent. Looks like there's an x to the fourth and no other x to the fourth, so just 9x to the fourth, plus. Now when we go to our next biggest exponent, that'd be to the third power. I have a 4x to the third power, and I have an 11x to the third power, plus. Now let's go to our next biggest exponent, which would be x squared. Looks like I have only just one x squared, so that negative 18x squared. And then we go to our next biggest exponent, which would be just x to the first, which looks like I have just one, negative 22x to the first. So there's all my like terms grouped. Now we just need to combine them. Negative 2x to the fifth combines with nothing. 9x to the fourth combines with nothing. 4x cubed plus 11x cubed is 15x cubed. Negative 18x cubed squared combines with nothing. And negative 22x combines with nothing. So our final answer is negative 2x to the fifth plus 9x to the fourth plus 15x cubed minus 18x squared minus 22x. So that would be how we multiply horizontally. All right. So from there are a couple more checkpoint problems which would be great to do for practice. Go ahead and give those a try. Check your answer. The answer key for the note-taking guides is on Canvas. And if you're having trouble with those, please visit me during my office hours, 9:15 to 10 a.m. every day. Have a great day.